Hello, good evening, and welcome to Between Two Pickles. This episode is once again brought to you by Recruit Radar. Are you tired of fighting with OpenSea? Click on Recruit Radar's listings tabs to find raters for sale here on a USDC marketplace. All done in USDC. They have less fees than OpenSea, and with current OpenSea issues, potential security breaches, this is your best place to trade, buy, sell raiders, mounts, and mobs. The trading tab has been a community favorite. No need for a middleman. They take a small fee, but it's all secure, and that's what you want with your NFTs. This is also brought to you by Pickle Finance. Pickle Finance is an auto compounder. So it auto compounds your rewards, meaning you will build up your LP, your liquidity position, over time, ensuring that you maximize your yields and that you don't have to manually click on claim farms. We'll connect my wallet here, or maybe I'm not connected. So you don't have to manually claim and create new tax events every time you click on claim from the Crypto Raiders Bank. They've got Crypto Raiders, Aurum, and Raider staking pools. Check them out if you want to try out auto compounding. And with that, let's begin Between Two Pickles. Hello, good evening, and welcome. Today I'm joined for the first time by none other than the Crypto Raiders Tokenomics guru. He's our master of coin, our maestro of materials, and DeFi advisor, Nat Eliason. Welcome. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you. It's
We're
early
gonna see if we can
Saturday
get this
morning.
video to start loading, so I'm not completely frozen.
Yes, I think technical difficulties with Discord are going to mean I'm going to try something else in the future, but if you do pop back up, that would be ideal. Okay, chat loves it.
I know this is the reason we started late, is we were trying to sort out these video issues, but
Anyway,
we
welcome,
agreed
man.
that Discord.
Really appreciate you coming on. I know you're super busy.
Of course.
I know I just learned that you're not actually an official member of the Crypto Raiders team, so now it makes more sense why I can never get a hold of you in the Discord.
Well, it's sort of this. It's a funny thing where Sass and I know each other from the like marketing agency world from 2+ years ago. And so when Crypto Raiders was just starting and they were looking for somebody to help with getting the token figured out and getting the smart contracts written, he reached out because he knew that I'd been working on that kind of stuff. And so initially just was going to kind of like do a contract gig to figure out the tokenomics and get the contracts written and everything. And then that went so well and it was so much fun working on it that I've just kind of continued to work on whatever economy stuff we want to work on. So it's been a pretty fun journey over the last, gosh, what is it, like 8 months now? It's kind of wild.
Yeah, it's got to be 8 months. Yeah. So,
August.
and what's your background before that then, in as much detail as you're willing to share, like your professional background, and then from there, how did you discover the crypto world? And then I guess those are your origins with crypto.
Yeah.
Is with SaaS.
So crypto origins, I've like touched on it a few different like times. I feel like everybody has to kind of like intersect with crypto 2 or 3 times before they actually say like, oh, okay, now I'm really going to figure this out. And my first exposure was actually super early because I had a friend who was he was like a moderator for the Dota 2 subreddit back in 2000, I think it was 11 even, so it's really early. And people were doing these like really high value item trades because there were these unique couriers that had unique like color codes. And back then they would be worth tens of thousands of dollars because it was like the ultimate flex in Dota 2 if you had one of these couriers.
Wow. Okay.
But there was no in-game marketplace for them. But it's kind of like a primitive version of NFTs. And so people would want to sell them, but they would need a trusted third party to facilitate the trade. So he would facilitate a lot of those trades because he was a moderator for the subreddit. And so he was like helping people pass around tens of thousands of dollars in these couriers, and he would sometimes do it in Bitcoin. And that was kind of like how we got exposed to the like, oh, there's this like interesting digital currency thing going on. And that was kind of like time number one. And then like didn't do much with it. Like heard about the hype cycle in 2013, but didn't really participate. And then 2016, 17, when that hype cycle started, got a lot more interested and wrote a couple of articles on my site about kind of like buying crypto and investing in it and whatnot, and started just dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin and Ethereum on Coinbase. So I just set up like a monthly buy to, buy some amount and just left it. But there wasn't really anything to do in crypto back in 2017, at least for me, because I wasn't like a super, like systems level developer who could contribute to the Ethereum Foundation, or there wasn't much you could do with like Solidity code back then. A lot of the Open Zeppelin and like boilerplate stuff that exists today that makes it easy to spin up things like tokens and whatnot didn't exist yet. So it wasn't clear that there was anything for me to do in crypto. So I just kept buying and went and did other stuff, and actually started a marketing agency that I ran from 2018 until the end of 2020. And so end of 2020, I promoted the COO of the marketing agency to CEO. She took it over and has been running it ever since. And then I was like unemployed and just deciding what to work on next. And had always wanted to get more into programming, but had never had the time to do it. And all of that like dollar cost averaging into Coinbase for the last 3 years had like turned into a pretty meaningful amount of money. So I was like, okay, like something's clearly going on in crypto now. I should go check that out. And that kind of led into NFTs and then DeFi and learning the Solidity programming on the side. And yeah, I mean, I basically spent the entire first half of 2021 going hard on like learning DeFi and learning like smart contract engineering, and then started doing the work with crypto raiders in August, and that's been kind of like one of the main focuses ever since.
Yeah, so that whole 2021 learning period, yeah, takes us right up to the essentially genesis of crypto raiders in June, July, and you join then in August when they start thinking about that tokenomics side and the airdrop and how to do that properly.
Yeah, because I don't remember how I found it. I guess it was probably through SAS, but I think it was actually somebody else who I knew who like followed SAS, and they knew that I was really into like Diablo and World of Warcraft and stuff, and they were like, hey, you should check this game out. And I have this old Discord message to a friend from I think it's like July 20th, where he wasn't very active in Discord, so he just signed on to Discord again for the first time in like 6 months and found the message and pinged me. He was like, man, I wish I had like listened to you when you sent me this message, because I sent him the like it was like the Crypto Raiders announcement post, and I was like, have you seen this? This is really fucking cool. Like this could be a big deal. And he didn't do anything with it. If he had just bought like 10 Gen 1 characters, he'd be up
hell
like
one, hell one or two, man.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Me, just two.
I mean, it's funny to think about there people who are like buying packs of 10 characters from Tyrael over DMs for like zero point 0.1 ETH, and all of those characters are like an ETH or more now. Maybe not quite that much, but a lot.
But they will be. They will be.
They will. Yeah, could be. So I found it that way, and then hopped in the Discord, bought some characters, and just started talking. And I I guess Sass must have seen me join the Discord, and then he reached out and was like, "Hey, do you know anybody who could help on this?" And I was like, "Well, I might be able to. Let me go look." And then spent the whole weekend kind of like diving deep on the token side of things, and then like came back to him Monday, and I was like, I think I did it actually, right? Like I ended up just doing the whole like token contracts and figuring out like a rough version of the tokenomics. And was like, I like this is probably a really good starting point for us. Like, why don't we go from here? And he and the other people on the team really liked it, and then basically spent the next 2 months building, or the next 2 weeks building the first version of that bank site for anybody who remembers it.
Yep.
Where it was like a little jankier, less well designed, but it got the contracts live, and we had like staking, and we're able to launch Raider and Orem, and kind of went from there.
So that's really cool because a year or 8 months of programming up to jumping in on a project which has now got a few $1 million in the bank and can run like they're saying for the next 3 or 4 years is fascinating. Like it sounds like you don't have a lot of what in the traditional business world people would consider experience, right? Like
No, I
they'd be looking at
started learning.
3 to 4 years, 5 years for a job, but you're doing this with just that 8 months and a deep dive, like you said, into how to do it. Is there any economics background there, or is it just you figured it out,
No,
you stuck your head
just
in, you got the job done? Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like a lot of time spent playing video games, which I think does count for something in this type of tokenomics work, and then basically spending a lot of the year reading white papers from other DeFi projects
Hmm.
and trying to like figure out what was going on there, both for like writing about DeFi, which I do a decent amount of, and just out of curiosity. And it's helpful for investing too, like deciding whether or not to go into a project. So I mean, the nice thing is like Solidity as a programming language has not been around very long. The most years of experience anybody has is like 3 or 4. But if you've been doing it for 6 months, you're a pretty qualified developer, assuming you've been like shipping actual contracts, right? And I thankfully like didn't really have anything else that I needed to do, so I could spend 100% of my time on either like DeFi or coding, and you can get pretty far in 6 months of doing that. So, and I had a little bit of a programming background, like a tiny one from college and just out of college, but not much beyond the basics of like HTML, CSS, basic JavaScript, some basic Python stuff. So it was really like I basically just started like, okay, I'm going to learn full stack JavaScript and get really good at that, and then with JavaScript, I'll be able to like get into the Web3 programming and learning Solidity, and that can all kind of like sit on top of that. So it was a pretty intense learning period, but a lot of fun too.
Yeah, I can really appreciate that, having done a pretty intense science degree at university, but just jumping into something, having little experience and coming out with a very good understanding takes a lot of effort and dedication, right? I mean, that journey can't have been all smooth sailing, right? But it sounds like it was really something you were extremely passionate about and wanted to do. So, um, I mean, it's gotten us this far in the crypto raiders community. So
Yeah, I mean
you must have been
that
doing
definitely
something,
some
right?
like very over caffeinated weeks and stuff along the way, and like definitely periods of burnout. I feel like that's sort of been the story of some of my work with crypto raiders, where the econ stuff doesn't have the same like nice weekly cadence that like the dungeon stuff has, or a lot of the gameplay stuff has. We'll kind of like we'll have these ideas for new things to add on the econ side, or some new thing will come up, and it'll be like an insane sprint for 2 or 3 weeks, and then it'll be a lot calmer for a period after that. So it kind of ebbs and flows. Like at the beginning of this year, there was just an insane sprint to do like quests and crafting, and now that like that groundwork is laid, we can do some more cool like potion stuff and questing stuff on top of that. But the initial heavy lift kind of like lays a solid foundation.
Oh, so that there's more quest. Which quest is next again?
I don't know. Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought wasn't
we
that?
we haven't said which quest will be next, but we do know which potion will be
Oh
next.
no, I thought you were
So
gonna tell me, which isn't that what you said?
no, I don't
Oh,
think so.
well, I tried, guys. I'm sorry.
I don't even know what the next quest is, so I don't know what I can tell you.
Okay, that's
We haven't figured it out yet.
okay. Well, there you go. No
Yeah,
leak on that front.
no leak on that. We have the next potion though. That should be in the next few weeks.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Um, but so like you said, you also have a history of gaming, which is great. A lot of the team and a lot of the people in this game do, which is awesome. So, what's your favorite game of all time then?
Probably Dota 2. That's the one that I've put the most time into for sure. I think, if like second to that would have been it's either World of Warcraft or StarCraft 2. I mean, those are kind of like the big three that I've played the most of
Right.
in my life. But Dota 2 definitely the most that provided the most satisfying like long-term playing experience, right?
Were you
Just
playing
like
ranked as well?
yes, but what I mean when I really played a lot of it was like 2012, 2013. So like 2000 yeah, like 2011 to 2013. So the way they've got like this really cool rank system now didn't exist back then. Like you
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
even know your MMR and stuff. So it like it was ranked but not to the nice style that it is today.
yeah. Well, I can relate because I've played a lot of League and never quite got into Dota 2 the same way. Just I think you get into one or the other, and
Yeah,
you like
exactly.
that
It's East
style.
Side versus West Side, It's like
Kind of, yeah, yeah. Although I did watch the big finals for Dota, and that was
the
pretty cool.
international. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I went to that once in Seattle. It was a lot of fun.
No way.
Yeah, yeah. When I was like super, super into Dota, me and my friend went to, I think it was like International 2 or 3, and it was a pretty good time. Definitely some inspiration to be drawn for RaiderCon.
Oh hell yeah! I'm keen that that's getting a lot of discussion amongst everyone because that would be awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
that would be cool.
so you've got these games that you've played a ton of and you love, and you've already touched on the fact that they had some early influence on you in terms of like that kind of early NFT experience, selling items in game, people having that flex kind of status with different items. Um, what are in your mind like some different items from the economies maybe, but also just the games themselves that you would love to see come and be implemented into crypto raiders?
Mm. I mean, I think that, one of the one of the big questions with any kind of like game coming onto crypto rails is, how much do you allow to become like tokenized and like extractable, right? Because since crypto raiders is kind of like a roguelike progression, RPG game where you do level up, where you get gear, where you get items, and your character can become more powerful over time. You don't want to let it become completely pay to win, but you also want people to be able to cash in the value of their work. And those things kind of like are at odds because the more you allow people to cash in the value of
Mm.
their work, the more you allow the game to become pay to win. And so figuring out that balance is kind of tricky. And I think where we are and where we're thinking about it is like, we want people to be able to cash in most of the value of their work, right? But nobody should be able to buy their way to the top of the tournament leaderboard or something. So, I think we're going to introduce stuff like soul bound or wallet bound items that, basically can't be pulled out to NFTs that are going to be the strongest items in the game that you can only get by playing, by winning duels, winning tournaments, things like that. But for the stuff that could get you like 80, 90% of the way there, get you like decently far in endless and whatnot, those might be the things that you can like pull out to gear NFTs, or that you can buy the recipes to craft if you want to make it, or you can just like buy the crafted version on like the marketplace whenever that launches. I always really liked the idea of having almost everything in the game be able to be tradable in the same way it might be in like the auction house in World of Warcraft. And that was always kind of my dream for something like this, was like, if I'm spending all day, fletching arrows or whatever, I should be able to like sell those arrows as, their own token, or as their own like 1155 NFT or whatever like makes the most sense. And I think we're in this cool spot where it's like we're really one of the first games to do a lot of these things. Like I think we're the first ones to do like on-chain crafting for in-game items. Like I don't know anybody else who has done that. And we're just kind of like getting to make stuff up as we go and like figure it out and see what makes sense and see what doesn't. And that's kind of neat because we, have a lot of freedom to experiment and like lay the groundwork for, what other games might come in the future. So I'm particularly just sort of excited about like playing with more of that and seeing, how do you build this like economy to be something like super sustainable and something that's like really like ROI positive once you factor in like fun. Because I think like you don't want the game to be like purely play to earn. Like if I
Mm.
spend an hour in the game, I'm gonna make this much Aurum, and that's like better than my, current job. And so it's like we don't really want to do like that kind of like play to earn. But if you can play the game and really enjoy it and spend a few hundred hours in it or something, and then at the end of it be like, okay, like, maybe I want to take a break, I don't want to play that much anymore. And then you can like sell all of the work that you did for over those 100 hours for like thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And like that to me is kind of like how I think games should work, and they like historically haven't, right? I mean, I think
Yeah,
like
for
the
sure.
classic example is like Fortnite, right? Where I was like pretty into it right after it launched and like played a lot in season 3 or something. So I have most of the season 3 skins, which are like fairly rare as Fortnite skins go. And they might be worth a lot of money, but like I can't do anything with that, right? And
Apart from like
people
sell the whole account kind of thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And people spend something like $2 billion a year on Fortnite skins.
What?
And yeah, like purely cosmetics, right? Like no
Yeah.
utility.
Yeah.
It's a $2 billion marketplace. And so it's like, how much are people going to be willing to or want to invest into games when they actually own those assets as well, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's going to be pretty powerful. And I mean, we're already seeing that, right? Like, when would you pay $200 to play a game, right? Like, never. But there's, it's much more reasonable to like pay $200 to buy a crypto raider, simply because you can resell it later,
Yeah.
right? And it might even go up in value, or like you can like recruit, you can do quests to get like tokens that you can sell. Like there's a lot of ways for that to become like a, at least break even or even positive investment. And that's just going to kind of like change the whole game calculus, I think. The trick is just going to be making sure that it's done in a like positive, beneficial way and not in one that becomes like extractive or grindy or like a weird, I don't know, like for lack of a better term, caste system of like, thousands of people doing like super menial tasks to like farm materials for this like elite echelon of breeders who are just like multiplying characters to sell them on the market.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting figuring this stuff out.
Yeah. I totally agree. I think that's why I really like the term that I think SAS and a bunch of other people have been throwing around. It's like play and earn, not play
Right.
to earn. Because, like you said,
Right.
you could jump in, spend an hour, and just fletch arrows and maybe sell those as a token. Or you could just jump in as an hour, sit in the tavern, and just chat to people and flex your skins, right? Like you're having fun because it's a game, but you also have that potential to earn something and resell if you decide you don't have any time, like you said. And it just makes so much sense for gaming, and I'm really glad that you've got all these amazing ideas. Like I can see it, I can hear it. I can almost see it. I can see a pickle green shirt, but I can hear that the cogs turning. Like
Yeah.
um, because it does. It's awesome that we've got you and the team who come from this gaming background and who are building this, not just because they can, but because it makes so much sense, and it's going to be awesome, and it already is awesome.
Yeah.
Um, so I suppose on that note, like one of the things that a lot of people have been discussing, it's been on everyone's minds, is the evergreen recruiting and maybe the bonding. We might touch on the bonding later, but if you guys want more information, I'm sure you guys know, but check out Langley's video on YouTube, because you were on there with him and explained it very simply and super effectively. I thought that was a great video.
Excellent.
But evergreen recruiting, there's been a lot of discussion around in the community, especially on the floor price of different gens of raiders. But is that the main factor that you guys are looking at and targeting when you decide, let's release evergreen recruiting, try and get more people, and now the decision to push that out to 6 weeks instead of just 4 weeks?
Yeah, so, one thing that I think is important to kind of like keep hammering home is that Raiders really shouldn't be held as a like long-term speculative investment. And we don't want people to think that they can just like buy a, you know, Gen 4 and sit on it and come back in 6 months and it'll be worth like 10x. Because, this has actually been like a big challenge with, making economic decisions is in some ways we have to be willing to like negatively impact the like economics of, some like community members in order to ensure the like long-term success of the game, right? Because if we wanted to just keep the floor price high and make it a great like investment buy and hold, then we would just not do any recruiting, or we would do recruiting, but it would be like way more expensive, and then we would keep the price to entry at like $300 to $500 forever. And that would be great for everybody who like has a bunch of raiders right now. But the game would be dead in like 4 months, right? Because nobody's going to come play a crypto game that costs a few $100s pretty soon. I think that train is leaving the station quite quickly, just because right now games like Crypto Raiders and some of the others that are coming on the market are really appealing to the crypto crowd, and the crypto crowd who are into gaming, right? Like that's sort of the initial target market. However, that's like a very small market. It's not a big enough market to like build a, really successful video game. And if we're going to go after something like RuneScape, right, and try to like be a game on that scale, it can't cost $200 to start playing, right? It should cost, $10 or $20 or be free to start playing.
Yeah.
And so then the question is like, okay, well, how do we get from here to there? Because we could I like we could just turn on unlimited recruiting, right? Like people criticize the evergreen recruiting with the cooldown or whatever, like, oh, it's gonna be too inflationary, it's gonna like destroy things. It's like, at a lot of these games, that's just how they work, right? Like you look
Yeah.
at Axie and some of these others, and if you want to do all 6 of your breedings right away, you've got to wait for the eggs to hatch, so there's a little bit of a delay, but nothing close to 28 days, right? Like 28 days is actually pretty conservative as some of these things go.
Yeah.
But if we did it, then we would probably tank to like Zed run prices pretty quickly. I mean, I don't think we necessarily would, because I think you hear this argument a lot, like, oh, people are just gonna like recruit and flood the supply, there's gonna be a million raiders. It's like there won't be that many if it is negative expected value to recruit, right?
Yeah.
Like nobody's gonna spend $100 to recruit a raider if the floor price is $50. So the floor and the Aurum costs kind of like create this natural escalation down to the price that we want to arrive at. And if you look at the charts
Yep.
there's a chart that's been posted a few times that shows how the price changes over time through the generations. And like, a Gen 1 recruiting a Gen 4 is something like 1,700 Aurum. By the time you get to Gen 10, it's only 1,000 Aurum. And for like, with the Gen 1 discount, it's like 700 Aurum. But the point is, it'll eventually be like 1,000 Aurum to make a new raider. And if Aurum stays around 3 to 4 cents, that's going to be like 30, $40. We'll probably try to get it even cheaper than that. But that's sort of what we're working towards. The only reason we're extending recruitment is that there's not a reason to get there any faster than we need to, right?
Yeah.
So going from 0.1 to 0.035 in a month is just like a little faster than we need to get there. And
so it can't
if
quite keep up with the pace of adoption.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And if people feel a little squirrely about seeing the floor drop that much, that's like pretty reasonable, because it's like a big drop in a month. And granted, there's like market forces at play here too. A lot of the NFT market is kind of down. Like everything is kind of like cratering and sad right now. So and it's hard to deal with some of that too. But it was really just like, the main metric I was using was, okay, if the floor price is recovered at least half, we'll keep the 28 days. If it's down more than half, we'll extend it. It was down more than half, we extended it. And I think that, we've got a few things coming out in the next few weeks. Yeah, a few weeks. Particularly Aurum earning in dungeons, that is going to change, I think, the math and the attractiveness pretty quickly.
Is that in all dungeons?
Yes. Yes. Scaling based on difficulty, right?
Yeah.
So, and I've used this line a lot in the chat,
elite.
and I think people resonate with it. Like, you don't expect your level 1 warlock like running around killing kobolds to be like dominating the auction house and making like tons of gold per day, right? Like if you
I'll
buy a
pretend I
floor
understand
raider,
that. Yep.
if you buy a floor raider and you haven't like leveled it up at all, like obviously it's not going to make very much money, right? Like it would be kind of silly if it did. But if you have a couple characters that you play each week and they're leveled and they're geared and they can do the harder dungeons and they can do the endless dungeon and get decently far in it, and and you shouldn't have to do PvP, right? Like you should be able to just do PvE and make like a decent ROI. But the lion's share of the earnings are going to be tournaments, duels, and permadeath dungeons. So
Right.
it like those are going to be the main areas where you can get like serious rewards. And we've been playing around with some of the math and stuff on it, but there could be, we can do stuff right where it's like every day there's a leaderboard for the endless dungeon, and whoever gets to the top, and there's like 1,000 raider up every day in the prize pool for the endless dungeon. And if you get like number one in the endless dungeon for that day, you get 500 raider, right? That's like $2,000.
Right.
Uh, and that's where a lot of these, I think, like earning potentials are going to come in.
Is is
And those
is
are
sorry, is Endless Dungeon the best place to implement that, do you think?
Well, so we want to have multiple options, right?
Right.
So it's like, because there's going to be different types of gameplay for different players, right? Like I was always very big PvE, like Excalibur was very PvP. If people want to just do duels and tournaments and earn that way, they can do that. If they want to do the like harder dungeons and the endless dungeon, they can do that. So we're going to have kind of like a few ways, but the crux of it is the ROI and the major earnings are going to be the hard stuff. It's not going to be like, Axie or some of these other games where you can like just do the early stage stuff and kind of like grind that to get like a decent ROI in terms of Aurum, right? The earlier stuff will mostly be for like gearing and leveling to get you to the point where your character can like start to actually play and earn, a decent amount of Aurum gear and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Uh okay, so that's cool because one thing I've been thinking about, I guess in combination with these three pieces, kind of like the Aurum drops in dungeons, maybe the what we just talked about, the gear NFTs, is this kind of uh, interesting cost price for stat resets. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, if the lower dungeons are more for gearing up and getting leveled and that kind of thing, do you think that the cost of resetting your stats is one too high and should be zero, or or in my opinion, I've been thinking about this, maybe that there should be a scaling mechanism along with level for resetting your stats, like it increases with level, or have a level cap where it's free, like up to level 5 it's free. And a lot of RPGs do that, where you don't get locked in until you get to a certain level. There's been a lot of discussion about that, especially for new players who only have 1 or 2 raiders and all of a sudden their stats are useless.
Yeah, yeah. No, we've talked about that some that I mean, so I don't contribute that much on the game balance side.
Okay.
Uh so I'm much more on the like DeFi and token side. So that
Okay.
kind of question would be better for somebody like SAS or Centurion or
Yeah.
Excalibur, or somebody who's like more involved in those decisions. Like they
Okay.
they handle a lot of the like game balancing type things. And then, I'm really helping on the like wiring up the DeFi tubes on the back end and like making sure that the game can be like financially self-sustaining.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So I guess from
Those
from
are
there,
those are all things that I know we have discussed though.
yeah. Okay.
So it's
Yeah. I
not a
just
no. I just
I
can't
just thought
say
it would
what's a
apply to
yes.
the economics. Yeah.
Yeah.
um. So then my only other concern would be then is I guess it's the sustainability of keeping Aurum prices the same, relatively stable, and not for them not to just skyrocket as soon as play to earn starts happening and more Aurum starts to get dropped. Um,
Mm.
I have one concern about, particularly about endless dungeons, where the balancing and RNG of it feels to me like it cannot work with Aurum drops. and I'm sort of putting together a
Why is
thesis
that?
on this, and it has to do with the nature of the RNG and the fact that you roll an outcome for the battle before you, as soon as you click raid, and you don't actually have RNG once you've already clicked raid. It's already all predetermined, and you're just clicking through the string. So
That might you should ask Excalibur because he would know better. I think that's changing with server side.
that's what I thought,
Yeah.
and that's what I think was the big plan, because this okay, so as long as you guys are having those conversations, because
Yeah,
I feel
because
like
if
sustainability of orange drops based on RNG, where if like you have a really strong raider, it should feel like your decisions have more impact, and like you can have that skill to go further, whereas now
yeah.
it feels extremely, as soon as I click, I have an RNG and it's determined, and I'm gonna lose or win on floor
So
5, 6,
if
7.
I, and this isn't my area of expertise, but if I remember this stuff correctly, in the first version of the phaser game, it works like you're describing, right? And when I say phaser, I mean like the current state,
Yeah,
right? Like I guess it'll
yeah,
still be phaser, it'll just be server side. Anyway, in the original version, it worked like that, where you could like determine outcomes. The problem was that people could basically like pull the seed for their dungeon run, and then if they lost, they could just plug in the same seed and retry like an
yeah.
unlimited number of times until they won or they got the rewards they wanted. So it had to be switched to being like predetermined as soon as the seed was generated. But and don't quote me on this, but I think that with the switch to server side, since we can handle all of it on our side, we don't need to do that anymore. And so decisions can matter again, and that's going to be one of the big like benefits to making that change.
Okay, that's yeah. I assumed that was
Because you're right.
coming,
If your
and I
decisions
was
don't matter,
hoping
then it's
for
kind of
it.
silly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of silly to like get rewarded for just like. I mean, it, like it would be better to be rewarded for making decisions, right? Like it's still
Yeah.
fun to get rewarded for rolling the dice, but it's not as fun as getting rewarded for making decisions that
Yeah,
matter.
exactly. Because otherwise, then it
Yeah.
becomes kind of like you said before, where you're just clicking through, and you're saying, okay, I can earn
Yeah,
X amount of
yeah. Then
ORM
it's
for
just like
X
how
amount of
good is your
time.
gear?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you're at least aware of these issues, even though it's not
Yeah.
your area, and you're
Well,
helping
and
with it, because the two are linked, right?
oh,
If you
totally.
have
Yeah.
ORM drops and currency coming in, then you have to know the state, or you have to be working with the way the game is designed to work.
Yeah. And I think it's also going to be another like, kind of paradigm shift too when we move to Unity, because that just opens the door to like so much more in terms of like, you know, options and flexibility and what we can do with the game. And that's the other nice thing about having this like whole ORM bridge set up is that we're not dealing with blockchain interactions at all. It can just be entirely enclosed in the game. And then whenever you want to like bridge it out, we've got that on our site completely separate from the actual like game client.
Right. Which is cool.
Yeah.
Is so in your view, going back to sort of economy for items and different things within the game, does that allow us to, in your view, I guess, vision for the game, let us have like an in-game, what do you call it, a marketplace, or like the shop that you go to in like an overworld, and you sell everything for ORM that's off chain, that's on the server, and then you can port that off chain through the bridge. Is that in your idea the best way to go about this, as opposed to having every item be an NFT and it's on the blockchain and it gets clunky, and or what's your vision for how we manage that going forward?
Yeah, we probably have to do like a bit of both, right? Like, if you think about it in World of Warcraft or something, you could always sell your rare items to the random shop to get like a nominal return on it based on some like market value. But if you wanted like the best return, you would sell it in the auction house to other players. So if you have kind of like, scraps and shabby weapons and whatnot, it'll probably make the most sense actually to just disenchant it, because then you'll get the like composite materials. And if you've got like thousands of wood and stone and magic shards and stuff like that, you can really easily bridge all of that out, and there'll be liquidity for all of that on Sushi Swap and whatnot. So you can trade that for more Aurum or whatever else you want. But that will all have to be on chain, doing the marketplace between players in game. Actually, I mean, I guess if it's all denominated in Aurum, there's no reason we couldn't do it. So you could have an in-game Aurum auction house and an out-of-game Aurum or ETH auction house, right? Like, or you use OpenSea. Uh, there's really no reason we couldn't do both. It just gets confusing, right? Because you're like, okay, I want to buy this item, I have to like check in two places. Um, but I mean, definitely disenchanting and like selling weapons in game for just Aurum and stuff will be an option to reduce clutter. Because like one problem we'll run into eventually is like we're paying the bridge fees for people who want to pull stuff out of the game.
Right.
So, and it's like, it's not free. It's a couple cents, but that adds up. So if people are like bridging out 1 million items a day, like, okay, now we're spending 100 grand in gas just to like bridge out people's items, right? We'd have to figure something else out at that point.
Right. So, and are you already paying for that every time we bridge something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just like the character migrations, we just pay for it on the back end. Because it's not, it's on Polygon, it's like maybe a fraction of a cent, maybe a cent if like the network's busy. So it's not so bad. But I mean, since they increased their gas, it's gotten more expensive than, the good old days.
Yeah.
Back in August when I think like they migrated all 7,500 characters for like 3 or 4 cents. Can't do that anymore.
Wow. So more materials coming, more quests coming. I haven't been able to get an answer out of the rest of the team. And I think it's because you're the material maestro. But are pickles coming soon? Like potions need a liquid to craft, don't they? Where's that pickle brine?
It's true. They need that reagent, right?
Are you pushing for pickles to be in the game? Are you on my side now?
We could do a special drop or something. That would be a fun little bonus item.
It would be good.
Seems appropriate. Yeah.
I'm aware of the time. Do you have to go pretty soon?
We've got another like 5-6 minutes.
Okay.
Do you have any other?
Well, I think
I feel bad that we got like hung up by the technical issues so much at the beginning.
No, that's good. That's good. It's fine. We've got to deal with it. We'll throw out the chat right now to get some good questions in the chat. If you got any questions for Nat, cryptocurrency, or anything else, let us know. Crypto Raiders, Tokenomics, community events, I don't know, whatever.
People are asking when fishing, and that is a possible line of quests. It's on the
quests,
because like one. Well, so it will be a mini game, but it can't really be a mini game until we have Unity done.
Yeah.
And like, so not only does Unity have to be done, but we have to like recreate the whole current game in Unity, and like then we can add mini games on top of it. So we could do like an early version of fishing that's kind of like on chain, similar to the like herbalism stuff that we're doing now. And then we bring it into the actual mini game later. But I'm not promising that we're going to do that. It kind of just like depends on, other priorities. I think like it might make more sense to do like wood cutting and mining first, because you'll be able to like disenchant your weapons and stuff soon. And so we'll already have markets for like wood and ore and things like that. So if you can also farm wood and ore, then that kind of like goes together. But I also just really want to make lobster coin. So I don't know. We'll see.
What about Bloodstone? Was it Bloodstone that won the vote?
Yeah. Bloodstone. It's a great item in Dota 2 as well. So I like that.
Okay, there you go.
Vote. But yeah, this is like my goal to just like have all of the like top 100 tokens on SushiSwap on Polygon. They're just like all random Crypto Raiders materials. I think it'd be great.
Yeah. I'll get another question here, but first of all, pancakes or waffles, Nat?
Waffles. Particularly chicken and waffles.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Wonderful brunch meal.
Fantastic. Okay, we got one from Helvey. How do you plan to keep early herbs relevant as the game progresses? They're clearly too expensive for what they do now, but do you have any idea of where you'd like it to level out and how you're going to keep them relevant?
Yeah, not sure where we want them to level out. I mean, I think that we first have to get potions to a point where they're like legitimately useful for most players. So obviously the minor health potion doesn't heal enough to be like a useful turn for like the harder dungeons. And a lot of people aren't going to like, because of the cost, they're not going to buy one or make one for use in the like, earlier stage dungeons. So we definitely want to get like the cost for that down. The nice thing about like material relevancy is a lot of the like higher level versions of the same potions. So like we'll probably release the like greater health potion in a few weeks. And that's going to be like you're going to make it by fusing minor health potions. So it might take like 3 minor health potions to make the major health potion. So now we like you still need Grimweed and Eye of Newt, and you suddenly need like a lot more of it in order to make this like much more valuable potion. And you might also need like a recipe NFT or something that like might get airdropped to people. I don't know. And
Ooh, that sounds
that's
interesting.
going to like help create some like longer term value for those early herbs. There will be rarer herbs that are like more challenging to get, but they'll be for crafting like potions that like default to a higher level, right? So there might be stuff that comes later that like gives you, like a second spell cast or like extensions to Ice Bear or whatever. And
Like an
like those
energy
potions,
potion, or just different
yeah,
ones, or
exactly.
yeah, okay,
Right. But like health potion is like the most basic. So it starts out super basic and
yeah,
like Newton Grimweed are super basic, but the amount of like Newton Grimweed you might need to do like the like top level potion, like I don't know, it could be 120 Grimweed or something absurd. But as more people enter the game and more people are questing, the prices are going to come like way down. Like if you're hoarding Grimweed and Newt as an investment, I definitely like don't recommend that
yeah,
because they're like Helvey said, they're way too expensive right now, and that should be coming down quite a bit.
yeah.
And yeah, there'll definitely be new herbs and like all kinds of new materials as we like keep expanding that. It's just like it keeps coming back to this question of like how much stuff do we pre-build on chain versus like wait to bring in like in the Unity port, like how do we want to balance that? Do we want like herb farming to stay on chain? Does that all become passive in-game play? Like there's just still questions we're trying to answer.
Very good questions, which we don't have the time to answer right now. So you guys are actively already working on disenchantment then of materials, and
Yeah, that was just another thing that we had to wait until server side for, right? It
yeah,
was
okay,
like need server side because we need disenchanting to be like totally secure because if you're like, creating a ton of these materials that you could bridge out and then sell on Sushi Swap, like we can't have any chance of people like spoofing a million,
yeah,
charcoal
totally,
and then destroying the market.
right. And would the disenchanting take place just within the client, so I can just go, oh yep,
Yeah.
I've got these two shabby swords, disenchant, no,
Yeah.
contract, gas fee interaction, just
No
done.
contract, no gas fee, exactly, all in the game.
Awesome.
And
Um,
I think weapon crafting and armor crafting will be in the client as well. We're not going to do any of that on chain. So you'll be able to do all so like if you're just doing weapon and armor stuff, you can just like go back and forth and do it. But if you have like a ton of, wood or whatever left over at the end, you can bridge that out and sell it for Aurum.
yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So for me, who doesn't come from a huge crypto background, having basically found crypto at the start of my journey, and I'm not that kind of play to earn kind of, like you said, audience that currently exists, but having come from a gaming background, but one that's not super, like min max RPGs and get all the best gear and figure out how to do everything
Mm-hmm.
perfectly. I'm in this interesting place, like in the middle of the community, where you got people like Helvey and just your amazing people that go out and they think about everything, and they think, okay, if I get X amount and I send them out for this amount of time, I can perfectly get the most value for what I've
Yeah.
got, right? On the other hand, you got someone who's just like, oh, I just want to play and have fun, and I'm sort of in that middle ground where I'm like, I want to just try things, I want to
Mm-hmm.
try sell some stuff. I want to try craft some stuff, see if I can get something good. Okay, I can sell it. And it feels like the way that you guys are building the economy and the way that we're going to add all these different parts of the game, you cater to everyone. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's really
And
exciting.
that's Yeah, and that's really the goal is uh, you know, if you want to like just try to max out your gear for tournaments, like you could do that. If you want to like do PvE and see how far you can get an endless dungeon, you can do that. if you want to like get deep in the spreadsheets and have like a team of raiders that you're like, I mean, I know there are at least a few people who are like writing custom scripts to manage their questing so that their raider like ends the quest at the right time and like comes back and they can like put the materials up for sale and like send them back out on other quests and like do all of that, right? Like if you want to do that, you can do that too,
Yeah.
right? And it's like that's what I always loved about those games, like RuneScape and World of Warcraft, is you could really like choose your own adventure for the type of game you wanted to play within that universe.
Right.
And I think we're trying to bring a lot of that energy into Crypto Raiders, and it's just like extra fun because it's like, oh shit, I like made actual money this week
Yeah.
from my like little guys like running out and it's pretty cool.
Getting some weed,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I'm super excited. I think that the economy side is like you said, it's good that it's taking this amount of time, even though it's less, week by week and less exciting. But I think you guys are taking the right approach, and it just feels
Well,
like
and
slow development is the way to go. Like you said, security being one big
yeah,
thing as well.
and to be fair, like if people who were around since August feel like the pace of stuff has slowed down in the last couple of months, it's literally almost entirely because of the like server side security stuff. It's like we have so many things that we really want to do and really want to release that we're just like, holding back because like got to make sure the security stuff is like super locked down, and then that can really just like open the floodgates for a lot of other stuff to come out. So we definitely appreciate people being like patient with that, because we don't want to take any risks with destroying the aura market or anything like that.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said about fishing, potentially becoming a mini game, will questing in general, will we still always have these kind of AFK quests, do you think, or will it in the end become always like an active thing, like you had in your
It's
RuneScape
good.
and WoW grinds?
We haven't decided. I think it would be something that comes later, like making it active. I mean, I personally think that it should possibly be both, right?
I love
So,
that
if
idea, and
you
I was about to say that. Like, you could send the guy
yeah,
questing, but you could also just physically sit there and mine a rock, and it
exactly.
maybe gives
Yeah,
you a bit more because you've got your high skill level from doing it AFK or something.
exactly. Yeah, if
Yeah,
you want to actively collect herbs, you might be able to get like 10 groomweed an hour. But if you want to like passively gather herbs, you might be able to get like one per hour, but you don't have to be at your computer playing the game, right? It's going in the
yeah,
background. Like I personally like that a lot. We'll see what the actual like game designer team thinks. But I like that would be the direction I would go in. It's just going to be one of those things that we like would implement later because it's like we can do the passive version first and it's like a good stopgap while we build out the like dungeon side of the game first and then like come back and build in the more like RPG questing gathering elements after.
yeah. No, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
Helvy, that's
Community's
actually
loving
something
it.
we've talked about. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
what Helvy just said about AFK being on chain and active being in game, we've talked about that a number of times, and I think we all rather like that idea.
It makes a lot of sense as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
All right. I gotta throw some steaks on the grill here, get dinner
oh
going.
damn, nice. I really
But
appreciate your time, Nat.
yeah, thanks for having me on.
It's been awesome, and I hope we can do this again in a couple months when we got some more of these cool releases. And last question: what's the update that you're most looking forward to that's coming very soon?
Oh, that I can tell you about.
No, or that you can't, but you should. Gotta give us something.
No, I'm this I am allowed to leak, I think, which is the NFT based potion crafting. I think will be pretty neat. So having all basic potions be available to everyone, but then having the more advanced recipes be collectibles that drop in dungeons that you can bridge out, that you can like earn in game, or that, you can buy on the marketplace if you want to create the more advanced health potions and things like that. I think that's a pretty neat idea that, again, we're not really seeing anybody else doing something like that. So having a big like Crypto Raiders recipes collection on OpenSea is like pretty exciting to me.
That sounds incredible. That sounds awesome, dude.
Yeah.
And if you do that, then that sets the precedent to do more kinds of collections like that, right, in the future, if there's other
Exactly.
ideas.
Yeah. I mean, I've leaked all the collections that I want to launch over time. You know, we'll have like Crypto
Yeah.
Raiders like recipes, Crypto Raiders land, Crypto Raiders like furniture, you know, for alchemy tables and stuff.
Yeah.
Like there's just so many ways or so many directions we can go with it. It's pretty exciting stuff.
Awesome. I really appreciate it, mate.
Alrighty. Got a boogie. We'll talk more soon.
Thanks, mate. See ya.
Cheers.
Thank you, everyone. That was Between Two Pickles. Whoa! That's some good leaks in there. You know, I mean, I didn't know Nat was not an actual member of the team, and he's more of an advisor, which is really cool. But you know, he's privy to some great knowledge. I really appreciate everyone for being here. Thanks for your questions. Thanks for your continued support. We'll see you soon for the weekend streams. Bye, guys.
Dina drawn. Dina, message me. I'm looking for Dina drawn. Why can't I find you? Dina drawn.